I mean, I guess so. My daughter was born during the pilot. In other words, I was going to be a dad, and so I thought I'd doing something for someone else, mainly bringing home some bacon. Getting a job. I thought to myself, when I was a kid, my dad had a proper job. He was worked in a foundry. I mean, he went to work. I mean, didn't want to be hanging around looking for jobs, even though I didn't do that. I thought I'd get a job, and I didn't know it would last this long, frankly, but I thought I'd get it. They were always asking me to do television shows. This is my first one ever,
Really, yeah.
television show, and
So had you
I
turned
seem to have
you
hit
turned
the
down
mother
quite a few,
load.
had you?
Huh? Yes,
TV
yes.
shows, really?
Yeah, I really wasn't available for TV. I really wanted to do, I was really more interested in doing movies, playing character parts, and doing the theater, but there comes a time in your life when you're doing something for someone else,
Yeah.
that's what I did.
What was it about this script?
Well, I
When
like
it
this,
arrived?
frankly, I was offered 3 television shows at the time. I don't tell less to everybody, but yeah,
Go on,
but I did
details.
kind of,
What were the other two
wedge
then?
them. No, some of them, they should remember. Well, one of them I knew the writer of. James Elroy wrote a TV pilot, and I said, "Are you going to be able to do this the way you wrote it?" And he said, "No, they're never going to be able to shoot it." It was called. It doesn't matter, but it was called.
So was it like LA Confidential? Or was it?
It was like, I was in LA Confidential. Part of it. So
was the TV?
No, yeah, the TV was really character driven, and I liked that one, I have to say. But I also liked CSI because it had a lot. The original script was like a mix of Kurosawa, a mix of Three Kings. It was like somebody went to a salad bar and made the perfect salad out of existing stuff. It's like the perfect. Like the writer, he didn't invent this macro photographer. He didn't invent the idea of having flashbacks tell the story and the plot. It was, but they did it really well, and I thought it was unique, a unique filmic script. It wasn't essentially a character-driven idea, but I thought as an actor it was a very good story.
What made it filmic? Did you think?
Well, I thought this idea of using flashbacks uniquely made it filmic. I thought the idea of also using technology, and showing the macro notion of the macro photography that was used in Three Kings, entering the body with the bullet going. I thought that was exciting and fascinating, and that was the filmic aspects of telling the story.
But of course, your role was not on the forensic side. So in a sense,
That's
you were,
right.
but it's not a secondary role, as it's
That's
turned
right.
out.
Well, it always is.
Did he-
Well, I'm playing character parts. That's what
Yeah.
I do. I normally, like I say, some roles are really well tailored. I, in the course of time, have to do my own tailoring to make it fit, better and more authentic. And I do it. I think that's usually what I get paid to do, is to make the role fit a little bit more authentically. Usually the main guys are already done and tailored and nifty and coming right out really perfectly suited. I have to kind of work it a little bit, and the writers help me, and then eventually over years that we've had, we've made a really good, we've completed that together, and they now write very well for the character, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I think...
So what was the cat? Was there any backstory? Did he have a backstory?
Yeah, well, we invented it as we went along, but I thought the curious thing was to keep the backstory. I mean, in other words, always it would show up, and we would we stay very consistent with it over the filming of all these years. As a matter of fact, the characters now, the backstories now for the characters are these former years of tremendous amount of episodes. I mean, people have watched so many of them over 12 years. We have created an authentic backstory. We have actually created an authentic history. People I know come up to me and go, they know that when I was referring, I looked a little girl. I said, I told the director once, I said, send a little girl running through the scene. Just running through what I'm talking about. And I was walking with this woman who has had the loss of her child, and she said, well, you probably don't know what it's like to feel a loss of it. And a little girl goes running as an extra, and I just looked at her and looked back, and, at a moment, this moment I'm having kind of right now. And everybody commented with, oh my God, I knew exactly what you were thinking. You were referring to your own daughter, who they knew about from episode 4 years before, or whatever. In other words, people tend to fill in their, when the backstory is very kind of general, people will fill in their own, if you just allow them in, you know what I mean? Just allow them into so you don't have to really explain it too much. It can be a moment like that, just some little kid running through the scene that you just notice. Believe me, the audience and all of us are so tuned in that when it's done right, they will complete the acting moment, as it were. And that's what's fun about I've never been in anything this long. I mean, I've been in stage plays that run for 18 months, 13 months, long-running plays. But nothing that ran for 13 years.
And
it's very unique.
I saw a comment when reading background this morning. Jerry Bruckheimer was shocked that he did so well, which I found extraordinary from him. I mean, I think,
Yeah.
I mean, was that a general view across the
Yeah,
cast of
I
production?
think
I mean,
so.
No one goes
We
and
all,
thinking it's going to last.
we used to joke around and say, you'd meet somebody like, we'd meet everybody. They'd say like, CSI success. You'd meet like a journalist, and they'd say, it's all due to me. Everybody was taking credit for it early on. The caterer would say, you know why it's successful? It's because of my catering. I mean, lawyers, entertainment lawyers are saying, because I did that deal. That's why it's successful. I mean, at the beginning, everyone took credit for it. Then I remember talking to Jerry about it. We joked around because we both play ice hockey, and we're playing. We're playing some ice hockey and together in this, pickup game where we play with guys who are way better than us. It makes us feel good. And so we were playing, and I said, I think this it just sort of struck a sort of chord, the whole thing. It's just hit a kind of something that people wanted at the time, whether it was to solve a puzzle, I think certainly to find some kind of metaphysical truth in life. I mean, they wanted somebody out there breaking down through the bullshit, frankly, and coming to something that said, the evidence doesn't lie. I was with my daughter, who's now 12, the same age as the show, and we were in Washington. I was taking her around to see the White House and stuff like that, and the Declaration of Independence. So I just said to her, we were traveling together, which we've done many times around the world, but I said, darling Snow, I said, did you take a shower this morning? She said, yeah, because she was watching a cartoon or something on television. We're in the hotel, and I said, you know that I work for CSI, right? You know that that's my job, right? And I can tell that there's no water in the, I went back, there's no evidence.
That's good.
There's no evidence that you took a shower. And she looked, as soon as I said to her, sweetheart, I work on CSI as a job, and she said, she just went like this. She just fell back in the bed oh no, I'm totally screwed. I've got a guy who knows about finding evidence rather than, I can't lie, in other words. So I didn't say lie. I said, so no, you can't, you have to kind of just tell the truth especially around me.
Yeah.
We had a joke about it. But it's true, I think people kind of wanted in their life someplace where the buck stops, where the evidence, for some reason I think it was a combination in our case of the OJ trial, which was leading up to it, where people were just tired of the government and institutions and businesses and commerce, everyone sort of telling non-truths to them, or half-truths, or just obfuscating the truth. And I think, so I think in some strange way, that was the early days. This struck a chord of there are these guys, namely in the face of Billy Peterson, Mr. Number One, the perfect, the modern Sherlock Holmes, that they could use science and technology, the new sort of gods, and we could completely find out what the truth is through these guys, these CSI lesbians.
It's a great notion, isn't it?
It's a great notion to think that somewhere metaphysical truth can be easily gutted by waving a little wand band of light over something and go like, sorry, you did it, Sometimes it gets a little highfalutin, but
it does a little, but then in a way that takes you in there, doesn't it? Because you are learning something in the show, I found. Early on. I mean, all the techniques were done in such detail, but did you find yourself getting more involved in that side of it? Of course, you're still the investigating officer. So
I keep it, of course, based upon the way I've always had this number of jobs, the way I've been employed, is because I really keep it on the level of acting. I'm always trying to keep an authentic moment-to-moment true life going as an actor. That's why I don't really mind whether it goes on for 12 years. Even playing the same character, people sometimes get confused, and they're really not actors. That every day it's a different sort of situation, that you can find ways to make the acting very interesting. Otherwise, I would have been long gone. Yes.
Really?
Yes, you can. I mean, you do that even in long-running plays, playing the same part. Every night is a different night of acting. Acting is a very kind of really small. It's not large. The thing and the event and CSI and the experience.
Quite a bit of comedy to Jim as well. I mean, do you work at doing that? Do you get the script and go, look, there's a look here?
Well, there's a few things here. Well, I mean, I feel that these guys have what I think is gallows humor. In other words, to be around dead bodies and all the detritus of crimes. I mean, blood and guts. I mean, you have to kind of be able to kind of eliminate it as a real thing and see it as a kind of a bunch of jello. I mean, you can't really, I don't think you could continue to kind of exist if you just every day took it on as dead bodies, as human beings leaving the earth. So find a way to make it funny. Yeah.
Yeah, and have you ever done a double take at some of the stuff you've seen? Because it is pretty gruesome, isn't it?
I think there's some real gruesome stuff. I think the most gruesome stuff is what happens to the body when it really decomposes, like wet soap. And I pulled out a pair of sneakers out of this wet soap, like trainers, is the English way. And I remember pulling them out, and I ad-libbed this line. I went, "Oh, this is the new Nikes." You know what I mean? Like, I'm really interested in this. It's the new Michael Jordan. Oh, these are the Air Jordans. But it was sopping, soupy, wet with whole body part. Actually, a decomposing body, which is smelly as well. But I made it like a joke, like I'm interested in the trainers. These are pretty cool trainers. So of course, it didn't make the final cut. I don't think so, but it was funny in the moment. Kept us all kind of having a lighthearted moment on the set.
And have you ever wanted to get more involved with it, to write or direct?
Yes.
Have you?
But not with our group, and not necessarily directing television necessarily. That's really a tricky and difficult thing. It really requires more of a technician than an artist, frankly.
Yeah, right.
There's only moments that you can have artistry as a director, really, because you've really got a job of keeping the trains running on time.
Yeah,
there's a tremendous amount of the train has to stay on the track.
Well, it seems a pretty tight script to me because it's cut so tight.
And there's a lot of people involved who want to make sure the train stays on this specific track.
Yeah.
So you don't really have, it's no auteur in directing television. Whereas, directing plays, having an interpretation of a play, you can set it at a different period. You can really have a little more freedom. Same thing with small film, and writing too, the same way. Writing, even, I don't even want to write scripts. I don't think, I'd rather write poetry and novels, and because I think that's more interesting and more freeing. Right now I'm keeping the train running on time. I'm keeping it on the track, and while it goes down that track, I like to have a few moments that you might not expect, and a few moments, like you say, of humor or irony, a few moments where you understand the character, and you may even see consistency to a character that I've built in the past with the help of the writing team.
And of course there have been changes in the cast as it's gone along, big changes. What's that been like when people come and go?
Well, people come and go in life too, so it's the same. And I don't think I've ever had a job this long, ever. If I leave this job, it won't be my last job. I've been in 70 movies, 50 plays, and one big TV show.
Very big TV show.
But I could find some more work. People, actors are constantly moving. They're moving throughout stuff. So it happens. People have reasons for leaving.
Yeah.
You don't want to feel like, especially.
But did people become unhappy on it? I don't know.
No, I just think because of its length and because of some people maybe didn't see acting the way I do. Everybody sees it differently.
Yeah.
They don't see it the way I do, of it being like a piece of time. Acting being a small piece of the interstices of time and space, putting them together as an actor in the immediate moment is really interesting. It's like shoemaking, It's like making a perfect hit with a hammer. It's not huge. So maybe people don't see it that way, and they want to change and play a different character. Other people might want to have a background.
That's almost a more English approach to acting.
I think
it's certainly not the method.
I'm in the actor studio, so remember that. So So it is the same. It's really kind of small moment-to-moment truths. So, I feel like I'm grateful to given the opportunity to do it every day.
Yeah. And what was when you joined the actor studio? What was it like then?
Well, my first time there, I was taken years ago by Rip Torn and Geraldine Page, who wasn't a member. But Rip Torn, I was in the 70s, and I was just young. I was 20, and I was doing a play at Lincoln Center. I was getting ready, and I remember going into and this is when the actor studio was really hardcore, and I remember asking in a smaller room than this, and there was a guy standing, cool guy standing against a wall, and I'm a young guy, and I said I was going to go into the session. I couldn't say anything. I was just going to observe, and so I said, excuse me, hey, where's the men's room? And the guy looked at me and he said, and obviously he was an actor who was going to go on and do a scene, do some work or even an exercise. I didn't know that. He just seemed to be quiet by himself. I said, hey man, you know what the men's room is? He said to me, his voice like a really active voice, he said, listen, right now, I only have time for myself right now. I thought, my answer was, my thought was, wow, I'm really at the actor's studio. Wow, this is exactly right. I only have time for myself right now. I only have time for myself. I thought, like, absolutely right. So, that can get you in trouble.
He'd clearly already been to the loo, hadn't he?
Yeah. He really only had time for himself. He didn't want to be disturbed. He was actually in a place where he was preparing to go on stage. I picked the wrong guy to ask. But I realized, that's what I'm looking for.
So it was very intense there.
That's
right?
what I'm looking for.
Obviously.
Yeah, but I thought, like, yes, this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And I think the guy I learned a lot from was Al Pacino. I mean, he's a friend, a dear friend. I've done a lot of work with him for over the 40 years almost. I watched him work.
Acting opposite.
I've done a lot of stuff with him, and we have even did a play by Hesketh Williams together called The Local Stigmatic, which we produced and everything together. It's a 2-character play that we filmed. The Local Stigmatic. Hesketh Williams, well-known guy here, and we did. He's great, and he taught me a lot about hard work as well as it's hard, to work at it slowly and let things in and personalize and allow time. I mean, he once said to me, he said, I'd like to do one of those TV shows. I thought maybe if I was going to direct one, I would say I'll get Al Pacino to be in it. But I said, I told him, he said, I'd like to be in one. How much money can you make? And then he said to me, I said, Al, you could never do this. You could never do this because it's done so quickly. It's done with a direct approach of moving this machine down and moving it. And what I think we do best is better than most, and I've seen this with crew and writers and directors and actors. We really know how to get it down the line, but get it done really well.
Yeah. Well, American TV is very good at that. I think it's very good at producing lots of episodes. The quality is very
quality,
high.
and
stories
David,
are well told. Whereas the British are getting there in that sense. I mean, we do.
Well, also they don't.
Do you see a big difference between the two?
I don't watch enough British TV or American TV to know, but the ones that we do, and I know the secret that we have is that there's nobody thinking like this idea that this is not important. There's a dedication and a kind of a commitment to it, and as well as everyone does, I think in both Britain and America, of having a job in these days, in this economy.
Are we okay to get to the last couple of questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So what's next? Are you series 13 at the moment? So you've got Ted Danson's on
Ted's
board.
Great guy.
Well,
we were in 3 Men and a Baby together. So I've known Ted for those many years. So I enjoy his company, and he's a wonderful guy. And we joke around a little bit, and I'm glad there's somebody older than me, at least on the TV show. There's a couple of guys older than me, actually, which is nice, although you wouldn't know it. He's a wonderful and great presence, great.
And his character's really funny, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think? It's
the quirky. And I think Ted also wants to keep everything going in a realistic way and develop more the dramatic side of his work. And as quirky as he can be, still trying. He's getting the darker side done too.